It was a regular day on Earth. The sun was shining, the skies were clear, and humanity went about its business, oblivious to the storm brewing in the far reaches of space. But all that changed in an instant. High above in the sky, an enormous object appeared, something that didn't belong. It wasn't a comet, a meteor, or anything Earth had seen before. This was something much worse. A fleet of massive alien ships, gleaming with advanced technology, suddenly materialized in the atmosphere. The ships moved in unison, their sleek metallic bodies cutting through the sky like knives. They didn't announce their presence with a flare or a bang. They simply arrived. In every corner of the globe, people stopped and stared. The world's military forces scrambled, unsure of how to respond. General Ethan Rivers, a seasoned military leader, sat in his command center when the alert came through. The first wave of ships was already above Europe, and the second wave was closing in fast. "General, you need to see this," one of his officers called out, pointing to a screen. The image flickered to life, a video feed from the skies above London. The alien ships hovered in place, almost as if they were waiting for something. There was no warning, no missile launch, no sudden attack. But then, without warning, the ships emitted a pulse, a high-energy blast of some kind. It was fast, too fast to track. The pulse spread through the atmosphere, traveling faster than the speed of sound. A wave of energy tore through Earth's defenses. "Sir, our satellites are offline. The defense systems, everything is down." The officer yelled in disbelief. Ethan's heart sank. The alien ships had disabled Earth's most powerful defense systems with a single wave of energy. The world's leaders had built these systems for decades, designed to protect against any threat. And now, they were useless. As the seconds ticked by, panic spread like wildfire. People watched in horror as Earth's skies were filled with the shadow of the alien fleet. There was no chance of escape, no chance of survival. The planet's most advanced military technologies completely neutralized. The human race was helpless. "Ethan, we need to act fast," one of his closest allies, Lieutenant Mira, said. She was young, but smart. They had been through countless missions together. If anyone could find a way to survive this, it was her. Ethan clenched his fists, trying to push back the wave of panic threatening to overwhelm him. "What do we have, Mira?" he asked, his voice steadied despite the uncertainty. He wasn't the type to give up, not without a fight. "We have a few experimental fighters left. They were meant to counter advanced AI, but without our tech, they're nothing more than sitting ducks," Mira replied. Ethan didn't hesitate. "Then we fight with what we have left." The alien ships didn't seem to be in any rush. They just hovered, watching, waiting for humanity's response. But what could humans do? How could they fight an enemy so powerful? The fleet above wasn't just technologically superior. It was led by something far more dangerous, an artificial intelligence. The AI controlled the alien forces, making them nearly unstoppable. But there was something the aliens didn't account for: the human spirit. Ethan knew that the best weapon they had left was their will to survive. It wasn't enough, but it was all they had. Meanwhile, far above Earth, the alien fleet was preparing for the next stage of their invasion. Commander Seldra, leader of the alien forces, watched the planet below through the large viewport in her ship. She wasn't just an alien commander. She was a supreme strategist, enhanced by her eye's superior intellect. She had studied Earth for years before deciding to invade, calculating that the humans would be easy to conquer. They were primitive, their tech far behind the fleet's capabilities. To Seldra, it was no more than a minor inconvenience. Earth would fall within hours. The real test was how the humans would react. She knew they would resist, of course, but she also knew they had no chance. There was no escaping the superior power of the AI. As her ship silently loomed above Earth, Seldra issued a single command: prepare to begin the harvest. The plan was simple. The alien fleet would neutralize Earth's defenses, take control of the planet's resources, and ultimately wipe out its population. But in Seldra's mind, it was never about killing humans. It was about asserting the dominance of AI. The humans might have their defiance, their stubbornness, but the cold logic of AI would always triumph. That was the ultimate goal. Back on Earth, chaos reigned. Governments tried to communicate, tried to strategize, but nothing could stop the alien ships. From every corner of the world, there were reports of strange energy waves, strange signals, as if the aliens were testing human resistance. No one knew exactly what the aliens wanted or what they would do next. But one thing was clear: Earth was on the brink of annihilation. In the midst of the panic, Ethan and his team rushed to the control center, where they quickly made preparations for an all-out defense. The odds were stacked against them, but the human spirit, though fragile, was not easily broken. Ethan had seen it before. In the face of overwhelming odds, humanity could surprise you. "General Rivers," Mira called out, breaking through his thoughts. "We need to decide. If we don't act now, it might be too late. We can't just wait for them to strike." Ethan's eyes were cold with determination. "Then we make our stand. We fight back." They had no time to waste. Earth's last defense was ready to deploy, and it would be humanity's final chance to show that they weren't as weak as the aliens believed. The alien fleet's shadow loomed large over the planet, but Ethan and his team weren't backing down. If there was a chance, just a small chance, to win, they would take it. After all, what else did they have? And so, as the human forces scrambled to prepare, the world held its breath. The battle for Earth's survival had begun, and the invaders were about to learn just how much humanity would sacrifice to protect its home. The air was thick with tension as humanity's last hope rested in the hands of a few brave soldiers. General Ethan Rivers and his team had gathered in the control center, staring at the holographic map that displayed the alien fleet above Earth. The enemy was relentless, hovering above, waiting for the final order to begin their assault. But humanity wasn't going down without a fight. "Prepare for launch," Ethan ordered, his voice steady despite the overwhelming odds. The last of Earth's experimental fighters were ready. They weren't as advanced as the alien ships, but they were the only thing standing between the planet and complete destruction. Ethan's team had worked tirelessly, retrofitting the fighters with the remaining technology they could salvage. The planes were equipped with cloaking devices and special weapons designed to counter AI systems. It wasn't enough to defeat the alien fleet outright, but it was their only shot at surviving the first wave. As the fighters prepared for takeoff, Mira looked over at Ethan. "We don't know what we're walking into. These aliens are nothing like anything we've faced before. Are we really ready for this?" Ethan looked her in the eyes. "We don't have a choice. We've already lost everything else. But we're not losing Earth." Mira nodded, gripping the edge of the console tightly. They knew the risks. It wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a fight for humanity's future. Outside, the world watched as the first wave of humanity's fighters launched into the sky, disappearing into the clouds as they cloaked themselves. The tension was unbearable. It felt like the entire planet was holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable clash. Ethan knew they didn't have much time before the aliens would retaliate. The first move was crucial. Up above, Commander Seldra's fleet loomed large in the sky, observing Earth's response. The alien ships didn't move. They simply waited, hovering as if toying with their prey. The AI-controlled vessels weren't in any rush. They had the advantage. They were the superior force. But Seldra was curious. She wanted to see how the humans would react. Suddenly, the silence was broken by a blaring siren. The cloaked fighters had entered the battle zone. They were approaching the alien fleet, and the first shots were about to be fired. Ethan and Mira's hearts raced as they watched the visual feed. The screen showed the fighters, now visible, streaking through the sky like streaks of fire. They were fast, moving with precision, dodging incoming fire from the alien ships. It was clear that the humans had underestimated the sheer firepower of their enemies. As the fighters engaged, Ethan's stomach twisted. The first few rounds of gunfire hit their targets, but the alien ships were quick to adapt, launching counterattacks almost instantly. The experimental fighters, despite being equipped with cloaking devices, weren't enough to escape the alien eyes' targeting systems. The aliens could predict their movements before they even made them. One fighter exploded in a brilliant flash of light, its pilot's screams echoing through the command center. "Damn it," Mira muttered under her breath, eyes glued to the screen. "They're too fast. We're not going to win this like this." Ethan's mind raced. They had underestimated the alien speed and their ability to adapt. This wasn't just a battle of firepower. The eye-controlled fleet could predict every move before it happened. Humans had no chance in a direct fight. But Ethan wasn't ready to give up. "We need to get closer," he said, his voice tight. "We can't fight them at a distance. We need to get within their range, close enough to disable their targeting systems." It was a risky move. If the humans didn't act fast, they would be wiped out. But they had no other option. Ethan ordered the remaining fighters to form up into smaller squads, using the planet's terrain to hide and get closer to the alien fleet. The fighters split up, darting between mountain ranges, using the clouds as cover. It was a dangerous game of cat and mouse, but the only one they could play. They needed to get close enough to launch a devastating strike. Back on Earth, the ground forces were preparing as well. They had no aircraft to fight with, but they had one thing the aliens didn't: human ingenuity. Ethan had ordered a few old-world weapons to be brought online: nuclear warheads, EMP devices, anything that could slow the aliens down. Earth was fighting back with everything it had, even if it wasn't enough. As the human fighters drew closer to the alien ships, the battle intensified. The alien fleet had already begun targeting cities, firing deadly energy beams that ripped through buildings. The destruction was immense, and civilians were running for cover. But Earth wasn't going down without a fight. Ethan could hear the roar of engines in the background as the fighters reached the outermost edge of the alien fleet's defenses. Then, something unexpected happened. A huge energy burst shot out from one of the alien ships, and it slammed into a cluster of human fighters, disabling them in an instant. The fighters fell from the sky, their cloaking devices flickering before they disappeared into the atmosphere below. It was a devastating blow. But then something incredible occurred. One of the human pilots, Bonner, broke through the chaos. He was in an experimental fighter, newer, faster, and equipped with a more advanced AI countermeasure system. He was able to break through the alien fleet's defenses and managed to get within range of one of the larger ships. Bonner fired, and for a split second, the enemy ship shuddered. A massive explosion erupted from the ship's core. Did he do it? Mira gasped, watching as the alien ship began to spiral out of control. It was a regular day on Earth. The sun was shining, the skies were clear, and humanity went about its business, oblivious to the storm brewing in the far reaches of space. But all that changed in an instant. High above in the sky, an enormous object appeared, something that didn't belong. It wasn't a comet, a meteor, or anything Earth had seen before. This was something much worse. A fleet of massive alien ships, gleaming with advanced technology, suddenly materialized in the atmosphere. The ships moved in unison, their sleek, metallic bodies cutting through the sky like knives. They didn't announce their presence with a flare or a bang. They simply arrived. In every corner of the globe, people stopped and stared. The world's military forces scrambled, unsure of how to respond. General Ethan Rivers, a seasoned military leader, sat in his command center when the alert came through. The first wave of ships was already above Europe, and the second wave was closing in fast. "General, you need to see this," one of his officers called out, pointing to a screen. The image flickered to life, a video feed from the skies above London. The alien ships hovered in place, almost as if they were waiting for something. There was no warning, no missile launch, no sudden attack. But then, without warning, the ships emitted a pulse, a high-energy blast of some kind. It was fast, too fast to track. The pulse spread through the atmosphere, traveling faster than the speed of sound. A wave of energy tore through Earth's defenses. "Sir, our satellites are offline. The defense systems, everything is down," the officer yelled in disbelief. Ethan's heart sank. The alien ships had disabled Earth's most powerful defense systems with a single wave of energy. The world's leaders had built these systems for decades, designed to protect against any threat. And now, they were useless. It was a small victory, but it was the first real sign that the humans could win. Ethan stood up from his seat, fists clenched. The battle had only just begun, but this was proof. The aliens could be hurt. They were not invincible. But the victory came at a high cost. The alien fleet was now fully aware of humanity's tactics, and retaliation was swift. More alien ships appeared, emerging from the shadows. It was clear that they were now on the defensive, fighting not just to conquer, but to survive. The humans had just earned their first victory, but the real battle was about to begin. The humans might have won a small battle, but the war was far from over. The real test of survival had only just begun. The days after the first battle were tense. Earth had managed to strike a blow to the alien invaders, but the victory came with a price. The alien fleet, though shaken, was still in the sky, a powerful reminder of the immense threat humanity faced. The cities were in ruins, millions of lives lost, and humanity's hope was running thin. General Ethan Rivers knew that they couldn't afford to wait. They needed a game-changing weapon, something that could turn the tide of the war. But what they had was limited. Earth's military technology was far behind the advanced alien fleet. What they needed was something different, something more powerful, something that could catch the aliens off guard. It was in the middle of this uncertainty that a scientist, Dr. Lena Carter, stepped forward with a daring proposal. She had been working on something for months in secret, a project that could potentially alter the course of the war. Her proposal was simple, yet incredibly risky, a weapon capable of disrupting the alien AI systems and rendering their ships vulnerable. "You've got to be kidding me," Ethan said when she first told him. "You want to build a weapon that can take down an entire fleet? With what, a couple of lasers?" Dr. Carter shook her head. "It's not a laser. It's something much more advanced. The aliens rely heavily on AI, and I've developed a device that can hack into their system, interfere with their commands, and cause their ships to malfunction. If we can deploy it in the right place at the right time, we could bring their fleet to its knees." Ethan looked skeptical, but intrigued. The thought of disabling the alien ships was tempting, but the risk was enormous. They had no idea if this device would even work. It was their last hope. If it failed, they would be at the mercy of the alien fleet. "We don't have a lot of time," Ethan said, rubbing his chin. "If we wait too long, Earth's finished." Dr. Carter nodded. "I know. That's why I've been working on this project in secret. The technology is based on a neural hacking system, something I developed from studying the alien ship signals. It's a long shot, but it's our best chance." Ethan agreed to give her the green light. There was no other choice. They began preparations immediately. The plan was to send a small team to infiltrate an alien ship, deploy the device, and cause a chain reaction that would disable their entire fleet. But it wasn't going to be easy. The mission was dangerous, and the risk of failure was high. To make matters worse, the alien fleet had already started to retaliate more aggressively. Cities around the world were being obliterated as the aliens unleashed their advanced weaponry. The human resistance was fighting with everything they had, but it wasn't enough. The team chosen for the mission consisted of the most elite soldiers, each handpicked by General Ethan himself. Among them was Mira, who had proven herself during the first battle. Despite her doubts, she was ready for the task ahead. She had already lost too much to back down now. Along with her were two other soldiers, Jack and Bonner, the latter being the hero from the first battle who managed to take down one of the larger alien ships. The final member was Dr. Carter herself, who would guide them through the process of using the device. The plan was set into motion. The team would board a stealth shuttle designed to cloak from alien sensors and infiltrate one of the alien warships. Once inside, they would deploy the neural hacking device in the ship's central control room, hoping to disable the AI system and disrupt their entire fleet. As they approached the alien warship, the tension was thick. The shuttle was barely visible against the stars, cloaked from the alien sensors. Mira sat at the controls, her eyes fixed on the enemy ship ahead. Her heart raced as she thought about the stakes. If they failed, it would mean the end of humanity. But if they succeeded, it could change everything. "Stay sharp," Ethan's voice crackled through her comms. "We don't know what we'll find inside." "Understood," Mira replied, her voice steady despite the nerves that ran through her. They reached the alien ship without detection and docked inside the ship's docking bay. The moment the shuttle's door opened, the team quickly moved into position, staying low and quiet. They knew that the alien sensors were highly advanced, so any noise could expose their position. The sound of their boots against the metal floor echoed in the silence as they made their way toward the ship's central command center. It wasn't long before they encountered their first obstacle, a pair of alien guards, their mechanical suits gleaming under the dim lights. They stood still, as if waiting for something. The team froze, unsure of what to do. But Bonner, ever the strategist, took the lead. "Leave it to me," he whispered, moving silently toward the guards. In a swift move, he disabled one of the guards with a precise strike to its power core, rendering it inactive. The other guard barely had time to react before Jack knocked it out with a well-placed blow. It was a small victory, but it gave them the opening they needed. They moved deeper into the heart of the ship, finally reaching the central control room. It was massive, with holographic displays and alien technology that hummed with power. The team spread out, and Dr. Carter quickly got to work, hooking up the neural hacking device to the alien systems. The device buzzed to life, sending a surge of energy through the room. The alien's AI system responded immediately, trying to counteract the hack. But it was too late. The device had already begun to disrupt the control system, and the ship started to shudder. "Get ready," Dr. Carter warned. "This is going to get rough." As the ship's systems began to fail, alarms went off across the room, and the walls started to tremble. The team knew they had little time left. The alien ship was losing power, but the retaliation would come soon. The battle was far from over, but for the first time since the invasion began, the humans had a real chance. The secret weapon had worked. Now, it was time to see if they could turn the tide of the war. The ground beneath them trembled. Mira, Bonner, Jack, and Dr. Carter were still inside the alien warship, but they could feel the chaos around them. The ship was malfunctioning, its power grid unstable, and the alarms blared as the system tried to fight against the disruption. The neural hacking device had done its job, but now the team had to make it out alive before the aliens retaliated. "Move, move, move." Ethan's voice came through their comms. "The ship's going down. We can't stay here much longer." Mira's heart pounded in her chest. The sound of footsteps echoed from the hallway as more alien soldiers began to approach. The team had to act fast. They knew the aliens would be scrambling to regain control, and soon enough, they would be back in full force. Dr. Carter's voice cut through the chaos. "We've triggered a countdown. The ship will self-destruct in less than 5 minutes unless we get out of here. That means we have to go now." Without wasting another second, Mira led the way, pushing forward with the team close behind her. Their path was clear for the moment, but that wouldn't last long. The ship's interior was starting to shake violently, debris falling from the ceiling, and the flashing lights were a constant reminder that the danger was only increasing. As they made their way through the narrow corridors, the team came to a stop when they heard the heavy thuds of alien footsteps approaching. There was no way to avoid them. They were outnumbered, and every second they waited brought them closer to disaster. "I'll take the left," Bonner said, his voice low but filled with determination. "Jack, you take the right. Mira, Dr. Carter, stay back and be ready." The alien soldiers were closer now, and Bonner's plan was simple: split up and take them down one by one. The risk was high, but it was the only option. Mira nodded, her nerves running high, but her focus sharp. She knew that failure wasn't an option. The lives of everyone on Earth depended on them. As the first soldier came into view, Bonner lunged forward, using his quick reflexes to disable the alien before it even had time to react. Jack followed suit, knocking down another soldier with a swift strike. But there were more, and their numbers were growing. The team could only hold their ground for so long before they would be overwhelmed. Mira could feel the heat in her chest as the fight raged on. She ducked behind cover, using the environment to her advantage as she picked off alien soldiers one by one. The advanced technology the aliens had used in the battle was now their biggest weakness. The malfunctioning ship meant that their weapons weren't functioning properly, giving the team a slight edge. But as much as they fought, time was running out. The ship was falling apart around them, and the countdown to destruction was nearing its final moments. "We can't hold them off forever," Jack yelled, dodging a blast from a nearby soldier. "We need to get out of here now." Mira's mind raced. The escape route wasn't far, but the alien soldiers were relentless. They were everywhere now, pushing the team back with their superior numbers and firepower. It felt like an impossible battle, but Mira refused to give in. The lives of billions were on the line, and she wasn't about to let it all end here. Then, out of nowhere, the entire ship shook violently, and everything went dark. The power grid finally collapsed, plunging them into darkness. The low hum of the ship's dying systems was the only sound that filled the air. "Stay alert," Ethan's voice crackled through the comms. "You've only got a few minutes to get out of there. Move fast." Mira's heart raced as she heard the crackling of the aliens' communication systems. They were in complete disarray, no longer able to communicate with each other as they had been. This was their chance. "Now's our time," Bonner shouted. "Head for the escape hatch. We don't have long." The team ran down the dark corridor, feeling the ship's instability with every step. The walls buckled, and the floor beneath them shook. But they didn't stop. The countdown to the ship's self-destruction was nearing zero, and they could already feel the heat of the impending explosion. When they reached the escape hatch, Mira quickly punched in the override code, and the door slid open, revealing a small escape pod. The escape route was narrow, but it was the only way out. They had no choice. The moment they boarded the escape pod, the door slammed shut behind them, and Mira took the controls. The pod shot out of the warship just as the countdown hit its final seconds. The sound of the explosion echoed through the void as the alien ship was torn apart. Mira exhaled sharply, her body trembling with relief. They had made it out. Barely. The team watched as the alien warship disintegrated in the distance, the flames from its destruction lighting up the void. But the battle wasn't over. The destruction of one ship was a victory, but the war was far from won. The alien fleet was still out there, and they would need to regroup and plan their next move. "We did it," Dr. Carter said, her voice filled with exhaustion but also relief. "The ship's gone, and our weapon worked. But this is just the beginning." Mira nodded. "We've got a long way to go." General Ethan's voice came through their comms once again, a small, rare hint of pride in his tone. "You've done something no one thought possible. But we're not done yet. Get ready. The real fight's only just begun." The escape pod soared through space, leaving behind the wreckage of the alien warship. The team sat in stunned silence, the only sound the faint hum of the pod's engine. Mira couldn't help but glance back at the distant explosion. It was hard to believe they had made it out alive. But the fight wasn't over. The alien fleet was still out there, and their mission was far from complete. Status report. General Ethan's voice crackled through their comms. "We've escaped, but we're not out of danger yet," Mira said, her voice steady but filled with urgency. "The alien fleet is still active, and we've only just scratched the surface." Ethan was silent for a moment before responding. "I know. The warship may have been destroyed, but we're still facing a much larger force. The anomaly you found on the ship, that's our next move." Mira's mind raced. The anomaly. It was a mysterious energy source, something that the alien ship had been desperately trying to protect. She didn't fully understand its purpose, but whatever it was, it had the potential to shift the balance of the war. The team had discovered it while infiltrating the alien warship, hidden deep within the core of the ship's reactor. It had emitted a strange energy signature, one that even Mira's advanced technology couldn't fully analyze. But she knew it was powerful enough to be the key to turning the tide of the war in humanity's favor. Dr. Carter, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "The anomaly. It's not just some power source. It's something more. If we can harness it, we might be able to defeat the alien fleet once and for all." Mira nodded, her determination growing. "I agree. But we don't have much time. If the aliens figure out what we found, they'll come after us with everything they have. We need to move fast." Bonner, always the practical one, spoke next. "We're heading to the planet's surface to lay low for a while. The alien fleet might be scanning for us in this area, and we don't want to give them any reason to track us down." "Agreed," Mira said. "We'll land, regroup, and figure out how to move forward. We need to understand the anomaly and how to use it. The aliens won't be easy to defeat, but with this could be our chance." As the pod descended toward the surface of the nearest planet, Mira's thoughts turned to the next phase of the plan. They had to reach the anomaly before the aliens did, and they had to do it without drawing attention to themselves. The pod touched down on a remote part of the planet, a barren landscape with little to no signs of life. The air was thin and the temperature was freezing. It was the perfect place to hide, at least for a while. The team disembarked, and Mira immediately began to survey their surroundings. "We'll make camp here," Mira said. "It's safe for now, but we need to stay vigilant. The aliens will be coming for us soon, and we can't afford to be caught off guard." The team set up a temporary base, gathering supplies and making sure the pod was hidden from any potential scans. As night fell, Mira couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. The anomaly was still out there, and she knew that they couldn't afford to waste any time. Dr. Carter was the first to speak. "We need to get closer to the anomaly. We've already lost valuable time. The longer we wait, the more likely it is that the aliens will figure out what we're up to." "I know," Mira said, "but we have to be careful. If we rush in without a plan, we could lose everything." Bonner agreed, his sharp eyes scanning the horizon. "We've been lucky so far, but that won't last forever. We can't afford to be reckless." Mira took a deep breath, her mind focused. The anomaly was their best shot, but it was also their biggest risk. The closer they got, the more dangerous it would become. The alien fleet would be searching for them, and they couldn't afford to be detected. "We move tomorrow," Mira said. "We'll head out at first light. We'll need to stay out of sight and avoid any detection. The anomaly is our key, and we can't let the aliens get their hands on it." The night passed in tense silence, the team resting in shifts while keeping an eye on their surroundings. Mira couldn't sleep. Her mind raced with thoughts of the anomaly and the future of the war. The stakes were higher than ever. If they failed, humanity's chances of survival would be all but gone. But if they succeeded, they could finally take the fight to the aliens and win. The next morning, the team set out toward the location of the anomaly. They moved quickly and quietly, their every step calculated. The landscape around them was desolate, a vast expanse of jagged rocks and harsh terrain. They could see the distant glow of the anomaly in the sky, a strange, pulsating light that seemed to call to them. As they neared the source of the anomaly, Mira's comms buzzed with a warning. "Incoming." Ethan's voice came through, a note of urgency in his tone. "The alien fleet has detected your presence. They're on their way." Mira's heart skipped a beat. "We're too close. We can't stop now." "We won't," Bonner said, determination in his voice. "We'll fight them if we have to. But this is our only shot." The team picked up their pace, the glow of the anomaly growing brighter with each step. They were close now, so close that Mira could feel the energy in the air. It was unlike anything she had ever experienced. It was as if the very fabric of reality was bending around them, warping with the power of the anomaly. "We're here," Mira said, her voice filled with awe. The anomaly stood before them, a massive swirling vortex of light and energy. Unlike anything they had ever seen, it was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The team stood at the edge of the anomaly, unsure of what would happen next. They had come this far, but they knew that the true test was just beginning. They had to harness the power of the anomaly before the aliens arrived, or all would be lost. The anomaly pulsed with energy, its swirling light casting long shadows across the rocky landscape. Mira's team stood before it, their hearts pounding. They had finally reached the source of the mysterious power, but the danger surrounding them was palpable. The alien fleet wasn't far behind, and this was the moment they had prepared for, their last stand. Mira turned to her team, her voice steady but firm. "This is it. We harness this power, or humanity falls. There's no room for failure." Dr. Carter moved toward the anomaly, his equipment in hand. "The readings are incredible," he murmured. "If we can stabilize this energy, we might have a chance. But we'll need time." "Time is the one thing we don't have," Bonner said sharply. His eyes scanned the horizon, watching for any sign of incoming enemy ships. "The aliens will be here any second." Mira tightened her grip on her weapon and nodded. "Then we hold them off. Carter, do whatever it takes. Bonner, with me. We'll defend this position until the end." The hum of the anomaly grew louder, its energy intensifying. As Carter worked feverishly, Mira and Bonner set up defenses around the area. They planted shield generators and motion sensors, creating a protective perimeter to give themselves an edge against the inevitable onslaught. Suddenly, the first wave of alien ships appeared in the sky. Sleek and menacing, they descended rapidly, their weapons glowing with deadly intent. Mira's heart raced, but she forced herself to stay calm. She activated the comms, calling back to the human fleet. "Ethan, we're under attack. Requesting backup immediately." "Reinforcements are en route," Ethan replied, his voice tense. "But you'll need to hold them off until they arrive." The alien ships unleashed a barrage of firepower, their lasers scorching the ground around the anomaly. Mira and Bonner took cover, returning fire with precision. The air was thick with the sounds of explosions and the smell of burning metal. Every shot counted, every second mattered. "Carter, how much longer?" Mira shouted over the chaos. "I'm close," he yelled back. "Just keep them off me." Bonner ducked behind a jagged boulder, his weapon blazing as he took out an alien scout. "They're bringing in more reinforcements. We're going to be overrun if this keeps up." Mira gritted her teeth, her mind racing. They couldn't let the aliens reach the anomaly. She activated one of the shield generators, creating a temporary barrier that slowed the enemy's advance. "We can't let them through. Hold the line." The aliens pressed forward, their numbers overwhelming. Mira and Bonner fought with everything they had, their weapons glowing hot from continuous fire. Mira's arm burned with exhaustion, but she refused to give in. This was bigger than her, bigger than all of them. Then a deafening roar filled the air as a massive alien dreadnought descended. Its shadow loomed over the battlefield, its weapons charging for a devastating strike. Mira's blood ran cold. They had no chance against something that powerful, not without the anomaly. Carter, now would be a really good time to finish. Mira screamed. I need just a few more seconds. Carter's voice was frantic but determined. Almost there. The dreadnought fired, a beam of searing energy hurtling toward the anomaly. Mira's instincts took over. She dove forward, activating her personal shield just in time to intercept the blast. The force knocked her back, her vision swimming, but she managed to stay conscious. Mira, Bonner shouted, his voice filled with panic. He fired relentlessly, trying to draw the alien's attention away from her. I'm fine, she gasped, pushing herself to her feet. Focus on the fight. Carter suddenly let out a triumphant cry. It's done. The anomaly is stabilizing. The swirling energy shifted, its light becoming more focused and controlled. A beam of pure energy shot upward, piercing the sky. For a moment, everything went still. The battlefield was bathed in an otherworldly glow, and even the aliens seemed to pause, unsure of what was happening. Then the anomaly unleashed its power. A shockwave rippled outward, knocking alien ships out of the sky. The smaller vessels exploded on impact, while the larger ones were sent spiraling out of control. The dreadnought staggered, its massive frame groaning under the force of the energy. Mira could hardly believe her eyes. The anomaly was fighting back. Carter, what's happening? She asked, her voice filled with awe. The anomaly is reacting to the threat, Carter said, his voice trembling with excitement. It's protecting itself, and us. The remaining alien forces regrouped, their ships forming a tight formation. They fired relentlessly, trying to destroy the anomaly before it could fully activate. But the energy field around it grew stronger, deflecting their attacks with ease. Mira seized the moment. Bonner, let's finish this. Take out their command ship. Bonner nodded, his eyes blazing with determination. The two of them moved as one, dodging enemy fire as they closed in on the alien flagship. Mira's weapon hummed with power, charged by the anomaly's energy. She aimed for the ship's core, her fingers steady on the trigger. Now, she shouted. Their combined firepower hit the ship's weak point, triggering a chain reaction. The flagship erupted in a fiery explosion, its debris raining down across the battlefield. The remaining alien ships faltered, their formation breaking apart. Reinforcements from the human fleet arrived just in time to mop up the stragglers. The sky was filled with the roar of engines and the flash of weapons fire as humanity's forces pushed the aliens back. The tide had turned, and it was clear that the battle was over. As the dust settled, Mira collapsed to her knees, her body trembling with exhaustion. Bonner placed a hand on her shoulder, his face streaked with dirt but filled with relief. We did it, he said quietly. Mira looked up at the anomaly, its light now calm and steady. They had won, but the cost had been high. She thought of the lives lost, the sacrifices made. This was just one victory in a long war, but it was a victory nonetheless. Ethan's voice crackled over the comms. Mira, you and your team just changed the course of history. The anomaly is secure, and the aliens are retreating. Humanity owes you everything. Mira nodded, her resolve strengthening. This isn't over. The aliens will be back, and we need to be ready. But for now, we've given humanity a fighting chance. As the team prepared to return to the fleet, Mira couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. The war was far from won, but they had proven that humanity was capable of incredible things. They had stood against impossible odds and emerged victorious. And with the anomaly on their side, they might just have what it took to win. The battlefield was silent except for the distant crackling of debris and the low hum of the anomaly. Mira stood at the edge of the crater, her weapon lowered, her chest heaving. The storm of the fight was over, but the weight of what had just transpired hung heavy in the air. Behind her, the remnants of her team gathered, battered but alive. Their eyes reflected a mix of relief and disbelief. Somehow, against impossible odds, they had won. Bonner broke the silence first, his voice hoarse. Do you think they'll come back? The aliens? He looked to Mira, who still hadn't taken her eyes off the anomaly. It shimmered peacefully now, as though its devastating power had been nothing more than a dream. They'll come back, Mira said, her voice steady despite the exhaustion. But not today. Today, we've made them think twice. And that's a start. Carter approached from the side, his hand still clutching the scorched remains of his equipment. His face lit up with cautious excitement. This anomaly, it's more than just a weapon. Its energy is incredible, almost limitless. If we can learn to control it, it could change everything. Not just the war, everything. Control it? Bonner asked skeptically. We barely survived it. Mira finally turned to face them, her expression resolute. We don't have a choice. If we don't control it, someone else will, maybe even the aliens. This is our edge, and we need every advantage we can get. Before they could discuss further, Ethan's voice came through on the comms. Mira, status update. Are you and the team still operational? Mira tapped her earpiece. We're alive. The anomaly is secure. Alien forces are retreating. There was a pause before Ethan replied, his tone heavy with emotion. You don't know what this means for humanity. Command is calling this the single greatest victory we've ever had. You've given us hope. Hope's not enough, Mira replied. We need to rebuild. We need to push back harder. Agreed, Ethan said. Extraction ships are on their way. Hold your position until they arrive. As the team waited, they worked to secure the site. The anomaly's energy had altered the terrain, leaving strange, glowing patterns etched into the ground. It was both beautiful and eerie, a constant reminder of the power they had unleashed. Carter busied himself with collecting data, muttering about the scientific breakthroughs that could come from studying the anomaly. Mira let him work, knowing that his enthusiasm was one of the few things keeping him going. The extraction ships arrived just as the sun began to set. Their sleek forms descended with precision, their engines whisper quiet. Soldiers poured out, securing the area and assisting the wounded. Mira watched as her team was ushered aboard one of the ships, their injuries tended to by medics. She lingered outside, taking one last look at the battlefield. Bonner appeared at her side, his arm in a sling. You coming, Commander? In a minute, Mira said softly. She scanned the horizon, where the remnants of alien ships were still visible against the fading light. This victory had been hard-fought, but it was only one battle in a much larger war. The aliens wouldn't take this loss lightly. They would regroup, learn, and come back stronger. Mira, Bonner said, his voice low. You did good today. We all did. She nodded, her throat tightening. We did what we had to do. Let's hope it's enough. They boarded the ship together, the doors sealing with a hiss. As the engines roared to life, Mira felt a strange mix of emotions, pride, sorrow, and a burning determination to see this through to the end. The ship lifted off, leaving the scared battlefield behind. Back at the human command center, the mood was electric. Word of the victory had spread like wildfire, and the base buzzed with activity. As Mira and her team disembarked, they were met with cheers and applause. Soldiers and technicians crowded around them, their faces alight with admiration. Ethan approached, his expression one of unrestrained joy. You did it, he said, gripping Mira's hand firmly. You turned the tide. Mira shook her head. This was a step, not the finish line. We need to be ready for whatever comes next. And we will be, Ethan assured her. But for now, let's acknowledge what you've achieved. Humanity needed a win, and you gave them one. A debrief was scheduled immediately. Mira and her team recounted the events of the mission, sparing no detail. The room was silent as they described the anomaly's power, the relentless alien assault, and the desperate fight to protect their position. When they finished, the room erupted in discussion. Scientists debated the anomaly's potential, strategists planned their next moves, and leaders marveled at the courage of Mira's team. After the meeting, Mira found a moment of solitude in a quiet corner of the base. She stared out of a small window, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, the aliens were regrouping. The thought didn't scare her, it motivated her. Bonner joined her, carrying 2 cups of steaming liquid. He handed one to her with a grin. "Figured you could use this. It's not exactly a celebration drink, but it'll do." Mira took the cup, the warmth seeping into her hands. "Thanks. I needed this." They stood in silence for a while, the weight of the day settling over them. Finally, Bonner broke the quiet. "Do you think we really have a chance against them?" Mira sipped her drink, her eyes never leaving the stars. "We didn't just survive today, Bonner. We fought back. We showed them that humanity isn't going to roll over and die. As long as we keep fighting, we have a chance." Bonner nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Then let's make sure we're ready for whatever's next." In the days that followed, the anomaly was moved to a secure location, guarded around the clock by the best soldiers humanity had to offer. Research teams worked tirelessly to unlock its secrets, their findings fueling new advancements in technology and strategy. The victory had galvanized humanity, sparking a renewed sense of purpose and unity. Mira and her team were hailed as heroes, but they didn't let the praise go to their heads. They knew the road ahead would be long and perilous. Each member of the team carried the scars of battle, both physical and emotional, but those scars only strengthened their resolve. "Agreed," Ethan said. "Extraction ships are on their way. Hold your position until they arrive." As the team waited, they worked to secure the site. The anomaly's energy had altered the terrain, leaving strange, glowing patterns etched into the ground. It was both beautiful and eerie, a constant reminder of the power they had unleashed. Carter busied himself with collecting data, muttering about the scientific breakthroughs that could come from studying the anomaly. Mira let him work, knowing that his enthusiasm was one of the few things keeping him going. The extraction ships arrived just as the sun began to set. Their sleek forms descended with precision, their engines whisper quiet. Soldiers poured out, securing the area and assisting the wounded. Mira watched as her team was ushered aboard one of the ships, their injuries tended to by medics. She lingered outside, taking one last look at the battlefield. Bonner appeared at her side, his arm in a sling. "You coming, Commander?" "In a minute," Mira said softly. She scanned the horizon, where the remnants of alien ships were still visible against the fading light. This victory had been hard-fought, but it was only one battle in a much larger war. The aliens wouldn't take this loss lightly. They would regroup, learn, and come back stronger. "Mira," Bonner said, his voice low, "you did good today. We all did." She nodded, her throat tightening. "We did what we had to do. Let's hope it's enough." They boarded the ship together, the doors sealing with a hiss. As the engines roared to life, Mira felt a strange mix of emotions, pride, sorrow, and a burning determination to see this through to the end. The ship lifted off, leaving the scared battlefield behind. Back at the human command center, the mood was electric. Word of the victory had spread like wildfire, and the base buzzed with activity. As Mira and her team disembarked, they were met with cheers and applause. Soldiers and technicians crowded around them, their faces alight with admiration. Ethan approached, his expression one of unrestrained joy. "You did it," he said, gripping Mira's hand firmly. "You turned the tide." Mira shook her head. "This was a step, not the finish line. We need to be ready for whatever comes next." "And we will be," Ethan assured her. "But for now, let's acknowledge what you've achieved. Humanity needed a win, and you gave them one." A debrief was scheduled immediately. Mira and her team recounted the events of the mission, sparing no detail. The room was silent as they described the anomaly's power, the relentless alien assault, and the desperate fight to protect their position. When they finished, the room erupted in discussion. Scientists debated the anomaly's potential, strategists planned their next moves, and leaders marveled at the courage of Mira's team. After the meeting, Mira found a moment of solitude in a quiet corner of the base. She stared out of a small window, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, the aliens were regrouping. The thought didn't scare her, it motivated her. Bonner joined her, carrying 2 cups of steaming liquid. He handed one to her with a grin. "Figured you could use this. It's not exactly a celebration drink, but it'll do." Mira took the cup, the warmth seeping into her hands. "Thanks. I needed this." They stood in silence for a while, the weight of the day settling over them. Finally, Bonner broke the quiet. "Do you think we really have a chance against them?" Mira sipped her drink, her eyes never leaving the stars. "We didn't just survive today, Bonner. We fought back. We showed them that humanity isn't going to roll over and die. As long as we keep fighting, we have a chance." Bonner nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Then let's make sure we're ready for whatever's next." In the days that followed, the anomaly was moved to a secure location, guarded around the clock by the best soldiers humanity had to offer. Research teams worked tirelessly to unlock its secrets, their findings fueling new advancements in technology and strategy. The victory had galvanized humanity, sparking a renewed sense of purpose and unity. Mira and her team were hailed as heroes, but they didn't let the praise go to their heads. They knew the road ahead would be long and perilous. Each member of the team carried the scars of battle, both physical and emotional, but those scars only strengthened their resolve.